Shalom. It is Monday, Memorial Day, and I am standing in the little bit of shade we have because apparently I tend to do some videos when the sun is very bright. So now is when I actually have the time to do a walkthrough for the garden, and so we will do that now. And I'm going to start with the front because I was just over at my neighbor's giving her some paperwork I told her that I would give her. So we're going to start at the front now, and we will go around to the back. This is our herb garden. And so I got this last year, and it was supposed to have been Lily of the Valley, but I knew by looking at the roots it wasn't. I didn't send it back. I have no idea what it is though. It's very pretty though. But I need to look up and see what that is. So, but this is our herb garden that we have outside the kitchen door. And these are just the ones that we use the most. And I did get some nasturtiums planted there. And around the front, I had a little surprise this morning because we are starting to get a blue tint to our blueberries, which is awesome. I mean, look at those. They're so loaded. And these, the ones that are on the porch and the planters, are so much larger. That is as big as my pinky. Those berries are. I mean, they're gorgeous and they're huge. And I'm keeping the camera down to not get the house number. But, I mean, these bushes are just loaded. Look, these are starting to turn. What? That whole bush is going to be ready about the same time. But look at all that. And this has just been in the last couple of days. I need to deadhead my rose bush. Yes, I do. Those petals smell so fragrant, even after they're dead. So I think I might harvest some of them and dry them the correct way and use them as potpourri in the house. But yeah, I do need a deadhead. But look at this. I mean, look at this one that's underneath the shade of the rose bush. Look at that. Look at all those blueberries. That's insane. These are not quite as loaded. Well, at least that one is. But the others on this side are not quite as loaded. But the trees look beautiful and they're coming along. Apparently you can actually use the leaves for a tea that has a lot of health benefits. So I might actually give that a try also. And now I'm going to walk around our storage building. I do need to mow the grass. That is on the docket for tomorrow, if everything works out all right. Neighborhood kids are yelling. So we have the loganberry right here, which is putting on fruit. Look at that. It's looking kind of burnished because it needs some fertilizer, which I am planning on doing this week. This tree is looking good, and this mulberry is looking beautiful. Mulberry tree. We actually have some mulberry trees down this alleyway right here. Down this alleyway, there's some mulberries that are actually putting on fruit and they're ripening, and so we were actually harvesting some of those the other day. Kelsey and I were, and she wasn't very happy about the harvesting part, but she's happy about the eating part. Here's my blueberry. The elderberry right here is coming back where the root broke off. It is actually in bloom right there and right there. But I can't eat any berries off of it this year because of that spraying. So I don't know if it's been contaminated or not. we have some carrots growing in our chinkapin, dead chinkapins trees. This one that did get sprayed is looking much better. I cut it back and we're giving it some feed and it's looking much better. So these are my pawpaws right here and right here. And the reason I have the pawpaws in a planter is because of this. They will spread by the root. So there's a new one right here which I'm going to put in another pot. The grapevine is looking much better. This is our compost system. I am not peachy keen on this. It is not my favorite method of composting. I prefer the hot composting, which I'm probably going to set up some bins around here. My strawberries, the birds keep getting my strawberries and I keep dropping them. Look at that. It's not quite ripe yet. So when it gets ripe, the bird will probably get to it before I do. I want to figure out a separate system, a different growing system for my strawberries, because while I love these tubs and I love the stair step table system for them, I am not loving how they're growing in it. So these are the blackberries that got hit really hard with the freeze, and so those got hit really hard with the freeze, and I trimmed them back. They have blackberries on them, if you can see that. They do have blackberries on them. I trimmed them back, and this one's making a really good recovery. This one is struggling, but it has some new growth right here, so I believe it will recover, and this one as well. And over here we have our cucumbers, which are still a little nitrogen deficient. Now my only problem with these mats is that the water will sometimes puddle when we rain, but I do have slits cut in there so it will drain out eventually. So everything is looking good, growing, except for, you know, these do still need some more nitrogen. We've had a lot of rain the last couple of days. These tomatoes are recovering very nicely, and look, they all have, look, that needs to be staked up. They're all setting blooms just about. Looks like we're having a visit to Lowe's to get some stakes. I really don't have anything else to put in here unless I did something on the sides, which I might, and then just stake one or two of them. So I don't know, wait and see. That will be a surprise. This rose is still struggling. I'm not a rose grower. I'm not an expert on roses. I love roses. I love looking at them, but yeah. So this is my cherry tree and the fig tree. Look at this. We have baby figs right there. There's some baby figs. And this damage right here was from the freeze. The goji berries are putting on some berries. There is a berry right here, but it really needs to be upplanted and fed. And some more fig trees. I don't see any figs on this one. I had a couple of fig trees before and they died. The freeze got them, and it really wasn't an ideal pot that I had them in, to be honest. It was small. But these are looking real healthy. They did put on, the ones I had before that died, they did put on some fruit, but the fruit always fell off and was never viable. So whether these will produce or not, I don't know if it's warm enough, if they were fertilized. I'm not real sure. That's something I need to study up on. So there's always, in gardening, always something to learn, especially when you're trying to have fruit and vegetables that you're growing to meet your family's needs. These are the Jalapenos, and they are loaded with blooms, loaded with blooms. And these over here are the Peppercinis. Look, we have some fruit right there. What? Love it. Love it. Yeah, we just saw Sunday that we have some fresh fruit that are coming on, the peppers and the tomatoes. These are the Kajiri melons. And I have some ticker melons down there. And this one, we have a watermelon, spaghetti squash. I have recently learned that I love spaghetti squash, so I do have some spaghetti squash growing in the garden now this year. And then right here we have some vine peach, which I've never tried. I'm not a huge fan of cantaloupe, so we'll see how that goes. Now these are the Wacom onions. I've showed these before. Hey, look at that. Look at that bloom. How beautiful is that? But they will bloom out like this. I mean, huge blooms. And a lot of people will pop those off. For the Wacom onions especially, I don't do that because I really want them to propagate. And what they do is they will do this. When the blooms fall off, you will have some small onions right here that you can just pop off of there and put right in the ground like I did the other ones. But that's what it starts to look like. And they're called Wacom onions because when the stalk falls over from the weight, as you can see right here in the back, some of them are starting to fall over. They will plant those bulbets themselves. They'll just fall over and they'll plant wherever they fall, and that's why they're called the Wacom onion. So I mean, look at that. That has a really good size, and it has a bloom on it. Okay, but look, it has a good size of onion on there, and people will pop these off because it says, you know, you'll get a large, it'll put the energy into making a bulb. I don't have the problem. I don't want really giant bulbs because they don't cure well, and the larger they are, it seems the spicier they get. But I mean, look, we're getting, these are nowhere near harvesting, but we are getting some good size right there, and we're getting the babies that will be planted for the next season. Now, this is a bed that we used to fill in. We filled it in the bottom with broken branches from the ash trees, some leaves and debris and paper, and some mulch that we had over here. And here's one problem with using the limbs, the brush and the debris. One problem with that is this right here. You get the holes. Do you see that? So when it rains and it settles, and you will get holes like that. That is not a critter digging in my bed. That's not a hole that something has made. That is just from the settling and the breakdown of the brush that's underneath the bed. Like I said, we did not add anything to this bed yet this year except to move all the onions over here while we topped up the other bed. Once we harvest these, the majority of these onions, we will fill in this bed and either possibly move the other onions over or transplant them somewhere else. This one over here, where you see those gorgeous, lovely onions right there, they're so beautiful and majestic. I mean, just look at that, how tall they stand with their heads facing the sun. Just gorgeous. But I have started transplanting these out like this, like I did with these. Okay, see how they're starting to come back. They're developing root systems now. You saw me pull this one out of the ground last week. But they haven't died. These are the ones I broke off of the top of this one, which we still haven't harvested. Okay, it's still growing. Look at the size of that stalk right there. but we will be harvesting that one soon. Sometimes they'll actually put those off, and then off of those it will create even more bulbs. I'm going to let one do that just so you can see what that looks like. It's really cool. Like we have a bee fertilizing one of the onions over there. Okay, so let's get back over here to the cayenne bed. We are again loaded with blooms over here, and as Todd, I'm gonna stick a video clip in here where Todd showed how he used those to help them stand up. And we will eventually need to use some stakes in this bed also to help them stand up, because they will get heavy with fruit. The cayennes were crazy last year. We had so many cayennes. We got over, I think we got about 2 quarts of dehydrated cayenne powder off of them. And that's not counting the ones that we used. So this is the habaneros and the black radishes. And they're really good companion plants. I mean, I'm so pleased. It was just an experiment this year because I had never done that before. So I was like, hey, let's do it. And then as the pepper plants grow up, they'll shade out the radishes until we harvest them. So, and it's working really great. So these tomatoes are also in heavy need of stake, but look how tall they've gotten. I did do a massive trim on them, but as you can see, they're starting to grow back some. And I have some cabbages growing down here in their shade. And in the center we have some type of pepper. I can't remember. But these are my purple and black tomatoes. This is a Black Prince, and it has my first tomato on there. Look at that. What? I was so excited when I saw that because, you know, tomatoes are my favorite fruit. Yes, they are. So right here we've got the baby Bok Choy. And look, they're starting to go to bloom. But that's okay. They're still edible. And they will be harvested soon. So yeah, that's the first time of year I've grown those, so that's very interesting. They're very good. And sweet, very sweet. Oh, and here is our first green pepper. It looks like we're having some nitrogen deficiencies in this bed also. That's not good. So we're gonna have to drop some more fertilizer on there. Although with them putting off fruit, I'm not sure we want to do nitrogen, so I might just rot it out and see what happens. Let's see, these are also sweet bell peppers. We use these like crazy. The tomatoes, I gave them a serious haircut because almost all of them are blooming. I cut below the bloom. Some of them have one sucker that I've allowed to grow, and some of the suckers I pulled off and I stuck them in a glass of water because, hey, free new plants, right? My cabbages are starting to head up, and they're looking really good. Not much pest pressure yet. I have had some worms on my kale. As you can see the damage they did. Saturday on the Sabbath, I was out here and worm squishing. I hope that's not breaking the Sabbath, but I couldn't let them, look, I could not let them just kill my plants, right? This is food for my family, not for theirs. So, yeah, and it's okay. I'm just leaving them right there because we probably won't eat those leaves anyway, but if we do, they're going to get washed off anyway. So, our lettuce is starting to bolt, but it's still sweet because we have harvested some, so it's still good. I'm not sure what kind of plant this is, but it did already bulged. So, and I haven't tasted those leaves. I might do that and see whether they're bitter yet or not. Which I don't really mind the bitter plants that much. Here is a Bok Choy that has really gotten pest pressure. I was squishing worms on it also. I was so, look at the seeds, the eggs. I was so grossed out by squishing the bugs. Todd was laughing at me. Our cilantro is starting to bolt now, but we're still getting some off of it. I'm not peachy keen on cilantro because it kind of tastes a little bit like, it smells like stink bugs to me. So these tomatoes really need, and I just, when I trimmed, I did a chop and drop, and as you can see, they're already breaking down. It's only been a few, I don't know, 5 days, and they're already starting to break down. So that's something new I've tried this year. I didn't know how it's going to work, but hey, they're already starting to break down. And the weeds, I'm just pulling them up and dropping them down because that is nitrogen. So far the parsley is looking good, and the dill also is looking good. And like I said, I did a massive haircut on these. And you will have to keep coming back. And you know, I just cut below the top where it was blooming, and some of them still are not quite tall enough to attach to the trellis without breaking their flowers off. So I might do a loose tie right there and see what happens. So this is where the biggest pest pressure was with the worms. As you can see, the holes they ate and the squishiness where I squished them. Now this is my broccoli, which is probably getting ready to start to head up. I don't see any more. There were some big green worms on here also that I squished. Those were nasty. But, well, it's okay. Maybe I took care of it by, well, no, there's one more. Squish, squish, squish those worms. They like to hide along the veins also. This one's got some seeds, some eggs. But they really ate that leaf off. And that one. There were a lot of worms on here, and I was squishing them off. Which, in that case, I am a girly girl. I don't like touching nastiness, and I don't like squishing stuff. So, I did get, my neighbor gave me this a couple years ago, and so I just got it repainted. Really nice now. So don't know what I'm going to put in here, but I will hook it up with something. Over here in our green stalks, we have some arugula, which is coming up, and some amaranth spinach, and some Mizuna spinach. The salad bowl lettuce mix. Yeah, none of that has come up. That is a couple of years old. Seeds were a couple of years old. And the free mixed lettuce seeds that we got with the green stalks, they have not germinated either. Up here we have the Galilee spinach, which is starting to come up. And we have the giant noble spinach on the second tier. And the third tier is Butterhead, and it's not doing squat today. And Paris romaine, nothing. And then on the bottom we have some rugged Jack kale, which have all germinated. So some of those seeds were kind of a hit and miss. These are our maple trees and chestnut trees. Too bad it's not my chinkapins, which didn't survive. So if anybody knows where I can get some chinkapins, let me know, because those are very hard to find. So this pomegranate is starting to come back where it got hit hard with the freeze, and this one is, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. But yeah, I don't think I get some fruit on those. Those are actually 5 years old and I have not got fruit yet. So these are my giant lily of the valley. I don't know why they're called giant, because they look the same size as the others, but they are blooming. And this is a regular lily of the valley that's not bloomed yet. I love the smell of those. They smell to me like a lilac, and that's one of my favorite smells. Some lilacs themselves that are having some nutrition issues. So one thing, this is not a lilac, this is actually a blueberry. But we have some nitrogen stealing weeds right there. Like, we got some babies right there. So this is my peony and my peony. They've put on some growth this week. The Jerusalem sage, and this is gosh, I want to say dianthus. I'll have to look back at my records. And this one's just barely peeking its little head above the soil. That's my lemon basil right here that was dying, and it's coming back. These are peas. How they will, the seeds will move around based on how it's watered. So it was hit pretty hard with it, and it got dislocated. These are my beans. These are the yard-long beans. Some of them are green, some are purple. These are my determinate tomatoes. Now, the difference between determinate and indeterminate tomatoes are the growth. Indeterminate is not determined how large they'll get, but a determinate tomato plant, it's, they'll only get so big, and then they'll stop growing. So that's the difference between those. And these two right here are determinate. And like I said, tomatoes and peppers are self-fertilizing. So all they need is a little wind, a little brush, and they will self-germinate. Now this one has some pretty large blooms, but they are not fasciated. And I have another one over there that has really huge blooms. Yeah, look at this. I mean, look at the size of that bloom. But they're not fasciated. I have not seen any fasciated blooms. And these are heirloom varieties. I mean, look at that. They're huge. Huge blooms, but they are not fasciated. So I guess I'm blessed in that. Right here is my purslane. I have two different kinds, the red and the yellow. I don't know what they're called exactly, but they bloom red and they bloom yellow. So I think the yellow are actually called green. And this is, I have some bulbs in here, and I also have some citronella. And the citronella has really come back after that rain. So super pleased about that. The daisies have started blooming again. They've got some new growth on them as well. Check that out. I mean, I don't even know what kind of tree is that? It's a nut. So this is how we're finding our trees. I don't know what kind of tree this is. It's a nut. I'm gonna have to look it up. But it's a double nut. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what kind of tree that is. It's different from all the other ones we have, so let's do this right here. And so this is how all of our trees get started. Oh, nice, a big... What in the world is that? A snapping bug? Bizarre. Okay, let's stick you. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to where it was. Okay, it's not going to stay in here. I really like that. The look of those leaves. Okay, so I'm going to put it in here and we're going to give it some water and we will see, look it up online and see what kind of plant it is, what kind of tree that is. So many of our trees have just planted themselves in our garden, so that's how we've gotten most of our maple trees and the chestnut trees and whatever this one is. It just volunteers. So up here, oh, you need some more soil too, don't you? Up here we have, these are the purple peppers, three different kinds of purple peppers, the sweet ones, and they're going to get planted in one of the empty beds with the ones that are attached to the arches. And these are hot peppers that are going to get planted in the beds also. So yeah, and we these were salsa peppers that did not germinate, so we planted some chocolate habanero seeds in there, and we're going to see if those germinate. So this is kind of wicked. I never realized that, look, there's one of those green worms. Ugh. I never realized that kale would do this. It's growing a leaf out of the leaf. I've never seen that before. That's kind of wicked. There, look. That's out of the center of the leaf. That's kind of cool. More kale. Look at this. I mean, look at all those worms. And this one did not have any on it yesterday. And it has been raining the whole time. So apparently they had some... Ugh. So disgusting. And you are welcome that I brought you along on the worm squishing expedition. See, I didn't even see any eggs on here yesterday. Look how much damage they can do in such a short time. The chamomile is going to bloom. Okay, these two just gotten a couple little bites on them. I saw some eggs over there on the broccoli. I do not see any on here unless I'm missing it. Possibly that's one. We don't use any chemicals to control pests because we don't want to eat that. Look at those blooms. How gorgeous is that? I mean, those are huge. That's like the size of my palm.
Look at this. This was laying down all the way here.
Yeah, we had some heavy rain, so...
My redneck pry bar. This one was laying down. Look at the damage of this one. This was laying all the way down here.
Look at that. It's been laying there long enough that it started curving up towards the sun, which we haven't had in a couple days.
That was as of yesterday, and this was laying down too. So redneck steak posts until we train them. This is the one. If you put an X brace in there, this pepper was leaning over here just a few days ago, and we have now trained it to stand straight up. I want to leave these here just for a little while longer.
Yeah, be careful you don't put them in too far in the ground because you could damage the roots.
Yep, just enough to skin it, but that thing's staying on its own now.
Oh, look.
Peppercinis.
Peppercinis are starting.
In your face. And this was in the habanero plants. I don't know what that is. It might be a maple.
It's a maple, yeah.
So that's going in the house for a midget maple.
A bonsai. Thank you for coming with me on the garden tour. May Yahweh bless you and keep you and give you shalom. Until next time, God bless.